The final one, point number 3, live below your means. I want to make this clear, right? So living below your means basically means, you spend less money than you earn. And it's the most obvious thing, of course. And you want to make a habit of that. But I'm not taking the perspective of the well-mocked perspective. I'm glad to say it. The well-mocked perspective of like, oh, these millennials, they can't afford homes because they have so many lattes and avocado toasts. Like, yeah, I'm sure that's exactly the reason. It's not that the home prices have like, I don't know, gone up 1,000-fold.
Nothing to do with that.
It's nothing
It's the
to do with
lattes.
that. It's definitely the avocado toast.
All the avocado.
Yeah. So that is not what I'm talking about. So it's not this kind of thing of, you should be frugal and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and stuff like that. It's living below your means. It's about, again, it's actually about spending money consciously on the things that matter to you. And if that is lattes and avocado toast, then knock yourself out. That's great. I also think of this as essentially non-suffering minimalism. So if you think about minimalism, there is a perspective on minimalism where it's just like reduce as much as possible. Right? You sit in an empty room on the floor because you have no furniture and you have nothing. You just have nothing. Right? And to most people, that's not very appealing. But that's not the perspective on minimalism that I think is useful for most people. I think perspective on minimalism, the greatest description of this I've seen is in Cal Newport's book, Digital Minimalism, where he describes the difference between digital minimalism, digital maximalism, where digital minimalism is not about just avoiding all technology and like never going on the internet and throwing away your phone. It's not about that. It's just about not being a digital maximalist, which is a digital maximalist is someone who basically says any technology, any software, any application that has any benefit, I'm going to make use of. If you show me a thing and say, here's a free app with a benefit, I'm like, yes, I add it to my collection of 5,000 apps, right? So here's a phone, it has a feature that your phone doesn't have. I'll give you money for this phone, right? And instead to say, no, there's loads of apps, there's loads of features, loads of things, but I have to ask myself, what do I want my life to look like? What is important to me? And I want to use technology that is as perfectly as possible in line with how I want to live and with my goals, and does as little else as possible. So if you say that, something like, here's a social media app, it lets you connect with your friend, and also it will, distract you all the time, it will beep at you all the time, it will get you addicted, it will serve you ads, it will collect your data and so on. It's like, okay, there's one feature here I want, and there's like 1,000 features I don't want. So I'm not going to use this, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to find another way to be connected with my friend. How about that? Right?
Impossible.
Yeah. And so it's the same with material minimalism. It is that there's loads and loads of stuff that is being advertised at us all the time, and loads of stuff that is completely normal to own. But if you really think about how do I want to live my life, what do I want my day-to-day to look like? What do I want to do? Then I want to have things, I want to own things that are as perfectly as possible in line with that, and that do nothing else. And I think a lot of also, one of the things that is just, it boggles my mind that people buy these home thingies, whatever they're all called. Apple Home, Google, whatever, Facebook.
Alexa.
They even, Alexa. And even Facebook have tried to sell one of the, I don't think anyone buys that one, but they've tried. It's like, put a Facebook thing in your home and talk to it. Like, nobody needs this. But you can tell it, hey, play a song, and it'll play a song. Yeah, you know what else you can do? You can go like this, and it plays a song, right? And it's one of these things, yes, it has features that are interesting, but if you, on balance, it's like you don't need this, and it doesn't add anything to your life. Like, you just don't need this. It just doesn't check out if you really think about all the things that it does, and how many of those things are in line with how I want to live, and how many of those things detract from how I want to live. And so with material goods, that's the approach to take. So like I said, if you want to have avocado toast, if you want to go out to coffee shops and have expensive avocado toast, that's a thing that you want and it's important to you, and it is worth the price, it's worth the downsides to you, in this case, just like the expense mainly, then that's good. But you want to be deliberate about it. And so it's basically just like being aware of all the consequences of what you purchase. And with material goods in general, I think there's an interesting problem where everything you own kind of owns you a little bit in return. And that is one of the things that I think we often don't take into account. Just go, oh yeah, just have more things, it's good. But like everything kind of, and I think people who declutter and get rid of a lot of stuff notice this effect. Like it kind of frees up your mind a little bit to have less stuff. And it's just, less stuff to clean, less stuff to stow away, less stuff that needs a space, less stuff to recharge, just less stuff that needs your attention in some way. And that can be freeing. And that is one of the factors that I think is worth taking into account when you think about what do I need or what do I actually want to spend my money on. And as an example of this, like I have one of the places I lived in it's a bit extreme, but what I did there is I invested quite a lot of money into an office and studio space, and I invested virtually no money into anything else. Because for me, it's like, look, if I'm here, I'm here to work. And so my approach isn't I'm going to be as minimal and frugal as possible. I'm going to spend as little money as possible. It's like, no, I'm here to do this work. I'm going to spend a lot of money, if necessary, to make the perfect working space for myself. And everything else doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to spend money on a TV. I'm not going to spend money on a couch. I'm not going to spend money on all this other stuff that is not in line with the purpose that I have when I'm here. And that is the kind of frugal or the kind of minimalism that I suggest trying on. And that goes well with, or that's basically how you can quite easily live within your means or live below your means, because you can essentially say, instead of feeling like, because my income is low, everything in my life has to shrink, you go, if my income is low, the things that are least important to me shrink the most, and the things that are most important to me can be preserved.